Hi everybody. Just by show of hands again,
Ep3.0.
who has 3ds Max or Maya installed on the laptop here today? Okay, as many of you as you can, try to join someone that does have it. For the rest, I'm going to try and get it installed on the rest of your laptops. If it doesn't work out, you can install it anytime at home. It's free software. But basically, that's getting into what 3D modeling is. Okay. I see some new faces here, so I'm going to go over what how this graphics is. Okay, very briefly. Basically, in 3D space, graphics is usually made by having a bunch of pixels with polygons connected to it. Okay? Sorry, not pixels, vertices. So just like in marker? Just like, for example, this. Okay? It could have 4 vertices to represent the plane, and well, the plane inside it is, gets rendered inside the game engine. Rendered means displayed. And that's the basics of how 3D modeling works. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to go off of memory. Now there's a certain workflow that goes into 3D modeling. Okay? First off, you have to decide how you want to do it. Okay? Nowadays, a lot of game studios are just scanning 3D objects and putting it in your game. Obviously, that doesn't work if you want to put a unicorn in your game or something like that, because there aren't any unicorns. But besides that, it does work very well, even for things like faces. If any of you guys know Metal Gear Solid, it started using 3D scanning, and there are also ways to have animation from real life put into the game. So if you want to do that, that's its own pipeline, and it's a story of its own. So everyone can see this, right? The first step, like I said, if you're not going to be scanning your model into the game, the first step is to try and understand what you're trying to create. Okay, so you have to either sketch or get references. Okay. Trust me, if you miss this step, your model will never, ever look good. Unless you have tons of practice, but even then it's not going to be as realistic as you want it to be. You need to either have a concept artist, or you yourself sketch what you want to create. You scan it and you put it up, or you can find references. Like if you want to model, for example, hypothetically, Tom Cruise. You find pictures of Tom Cruise, and you literally put him inside the workspace that you're going to be developing. Okay? When you actually put it in, you're just going to have a few pictures like this, so that you can have a box so you can understand the different points of view, so you can accurately model and place it inside the world. Okay, so this would be the front and this would be the side. With only those two, you can actually create very realistic models. But it also helps to get various different points of view, just so you can understand the geometry better. Because just because you have this side and this side doesn't mean that you know what the back looks like. Doesn't mean that you correctly understand how the facial features work. And that's why sometimes you need various different angles. Anyway, after you get sketches and references and things like that, by the way, I just want to mention today there's no coding whatsoever. Unfortunately, it's all about modeling. I do this because it is an essential step to 3D development. No one does it in this country, and actually I found it interesting as an engineer and as an artist. So anyway, after you sketch or get references, the next step, okay, is to figure out what your workflow is going to be. Basically, there are 3 types of workflows, okay? They're starting with a shape. So you can have a box or a sphere or whatever, and then you literally break it down and try and build what you want from there. Okay? This is usually known as box modeling or sphere modeling. Then there is actually starting with the actual polygons. So if you look at how most models are made, you can try and start with, let's say, the eye. Okay, so you have the eye that looks like this. Trust me, I'm a much better artist than this, but I'm in a rush. You can start placing the planes where you expect them to be. Okay, and you place it plane by plane. Okay. This may seem like a lot more effort, but usually it lends to much more realistic results. Finally, this is similar to this, but basically you have a sphere or whatever shape you want, and this is like the actual term sculpting. Okay, in programs such as ZBrush, you can actually act like it's clay. Okay, you can dig into it. Okay, you can build onto it. I'm not going to go into that now. It's a very intuitive process. Anyone who gets into this will understand it immediately. Like I said, ZBrush and even Mudbox. Mudbox is free for students. You can use this process. It's built especially for this process. Anyway, so after you figure out what kind of workflow you want to deal with, you have to actually start building the model. Okay? Now, when you're done actually placing all of the polygons exactly where you want it, that's when you have to start unwrapping. Okay? For those who weren't here in the first session, to think of unwrapping, you can think of an orange. Okay? Anyone who's had an orange has sliced it up and tried to open it up probably. And you can lay it flat. You can lay the orange skin flat. And it's probably going to look something like this. Okay? Or whatever. And that's basically what unwrapping is. It's taking a 3D object and unfolding it to become 2D. So afterwards, you can actually paint on top of this. Do whatever you want, and it will appear on the 3D model. This is the most annoying process that you will ever do. I swear to God. But it has to be done. After that, by the way, seriously, raise your hands whenever you want. This isn't going to be necessarily a long session. I'm just going to keep going until you guys are bored. Because this session is not, it's easier to understand, but it requires a lot of application. So like I said, raise your hand when you have a question. I'm serious. I love answering questions. Anyway, so when you're done unwrapping, you usually do texture work. Texturing is actually putting the 2D image on top. So if it was an orange, you'd literally just probably put an orange texture, maybe a few dots, or if you have mold or something ugly like that, you can put it on. And then other maps. Okay? Most of you guys probably weren't here for the first session, so let me just try and bring up some different kinds of maps to refresh your memory in case you were. What? Anyway, these are normal maps, okay? This is the first kind of map that you're going to face, okay? So let's say that you have a statue, okay? You have this very physically accurate statue that you can tell Michelangelo probably built the statue. That's how good it is. Anyway, you're not going to want to deal with each and every single individual pore because you're going to waste thousands of polygons doing each and every, square centimeter or whatever. Okay? It's not worth it. Instead, you implement what's called a normal map. A normal map is basically it basically tells the game what way, what direction the lighting is supposed to go. The blue represents the z-axis. This represents I guess it depends on what axis you're taking, but the green represents the y-axis and the red represents the x-axis. So that when you combine these colors, you can figure out what orientation this is going. Obviously, you can tell just by this that it's probably cobblestone or something. This is metal, and this is, I guess, paper maybe. So it's made to deal with these tiny things that you would see, obviously, but you wouldn't want to actually create because it's a waste of time. And because it's a waste of resources as well. Other examples are the roughness map and the speculative map. Okay, so basically roughness is, okay, if you look at this table for example, why do you not see a perfect reflection of this? It's kind of shiny. You should be able to see a perfect reflection of this, right? No, that's because deep, deep, deep in the surface, okay? Microscopically, there are these tiny bumps that when the light comes onto them, it basically spreads, okay? So the light is reflected everywhere, okay? So it's not a perfect mirror, and therefore you can't see what's on the side from here. So that's what the roughness map is. It basically dictates the small areas that you can't see, but it does affect the lighting, okay? Specular is basically shininess. There's no easier way to put that. But those are just some basic maps that you're going to deal with. If you want some more in-depth information, the video of the first session is going to be up soon. Anyway, the texture, after doing the texture and maps, you'd want to do what's called rigging. Rigging is basically preparing a model or a mesh to be put into a game or a movie or whatever. Okay? Preparing it for motion and interaction. So here you can see that the models are basically cut down into their bare essentials, okay? It's not even this. This is just a representation. It's basically just points with a line through them. That's essentially what rigging is, okay? So that when you have your mesh built around it, okay, your complicated arm or whatever that flexes in a certain way, the bones, the rigging, helps you animate it, okay? Actually, in the olden days, you used to have to animate every single vertex, which was a nightmare, but we're not dealing with that today. It was changed a long time ago, in the 1990s, actually, I think. So basically, instead of having to deal with every single vertex, you just deal with the bones and you rotate them so that you can animate the entire thing. Any questions? I'm serious, no questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah?
So this is just to kind of animate the whatever you're drawing, right?
Okay, well, that question, I actually want to answer two parts. It's not actually drawing, okay? Drawing is strictly 2D, but when you're doing 3D, it's usually known as sculpting, or various other terms, modeling, often. But that's when you create things in 3D. The sculpting is just so you figure out how to put things, okay? Concept artists who do the 2D drawing are essential to the work, but they don't actually, their work usually doesn't actually come in game. It's used as design. They're like writers, basically, visual writers. Now to answer the second part, or what you actually asked, all of this is not for animating. This step is to allow it to be animated, okay? All of this is actually getting so that you can actually see something, okay? Up to here so that you can see just a sculpture, like a statue, sort of. Up to here so that you can actually make the statue look realistic, like a real human. And then the rigging is so that you can give it bones so it can be animated. Does that answer your question?
I just wanted to ask, so there are further steps in which you animate it more?
Yeah, like actually right after this, after you rig, that's when you start animating, okay? Usually. So basically, as you can see from any of these skeletons, okay, each of these, points, like this, how do I explain this? Most of this stuff is just a representation so you can understand, okay? But the head is actually just one point, okay? I know it's hard to get through your head. Actually, let me try to get a better way of explaining. Okay. This is mostly what it's like. I mean, still it's just a representation, but basically the idea is that you have points that are joined to each other, okay? And based on how those points are animated, okay? Like let's say you have a foot, okay? You can move the foot like this and then like this, okay? So you deal with these 4 points, okay? You do 4 points in 3 frames and then you have a leg that's actually moving up like this, okay? So you don't deal with each and every single vertex. That's the animating, okay? What allows you to create this is the rigging. Is that confusing? Okay, if it is, please tell me. I know sometimes I go over my head, so. Yeah, so that's basically the process that goes into actually creating a model. So now we're going to talk about actually, let's do it. So you guys should have downloaded either Maya or 3ds Max, but I know that the email probably didn't reach a lot of you, and the rest of you probably were too busy to download it. So to whoever has, good. For whoever hasn't, try and join someone who has. But anyway, this is Maya, okay? It's one of the most famous modeling programs in the world. That and 3ds Max, as well as Blender. Those are some examples of programs that you can use to actually do the process that I just talked about. Maya is famous for 2 reasons. More and more it's being used a lot in film, as opposed to 3ds Max. And 2, it works on Mac and Linux, whereas 3ds Max only works on Windows. I actually don't have that much experience with Maya, to be honest, but I'll go through this with you. Let me get a mouse. First, let me actually tell you how to get this program, okay? Maya and 3ds Max are available for free for students, only if you use it for non-commercial purposes. So you can't sell the model, you can't sell part of the model, you can't use part of the model in something that you're selling, okay? But besides that, you can use it just for fun, just for learning, things like that. You can get it through the Autodesk website. So if you just search the program that you want, either Maya or 3ds Max Educational, you should find this page where you can download it. You just have to create an account and download it. But it's like 6 gigabytes or something, so try download it on campus. Anyway, so back to Maya. first let's actually talk about which one you want to use. In case you're on Windows, you have the flexibility to choose either. So the three major bosses in this field are Maya, 3ds Max, and Blender. Okay? Now, with all three of these, you can do the exact same thing. It's the exact same product. The only difference is the workflow and the price. These two cost a fortune for you to actually to work with. I swear to God, it's like $999 or something like that, if you're actually working with it. But I guess it's worth it because literally every model in the world uses these two programs. Blender is completely free. So if you guys don't want to go broke, you probably want to use Blender. Okay? Now, Maya is not easy to learn. Okay? Maya is targeted at advanced modelers, people who want efficiency, people who want to create models very quickly. That's why a lot of its features are going to seem weird. So it's inaccessible, but it's efficient. 3ds Max, on the other hand, it kind of seems geared towards designers as well as it's more friendly to beginners. Okay. Like I said, it's more geared towards beginners and engineers. Okay. You can actually deal with the individual points, and the UI of it, the user interface of it, makes a lot more sense. Blender, I don't know. Blender, it's a good program, but its UI is very, very difficult to learn. Even harder than Maya, I'd say. So if you're willing to learn, use Blender. If you're not willing to learn, either pirate or spend a lot of money. Anyway, so I'm going to start talking about what you actually see here. Okay? This is specifically for Maya. The UIs are kind of similar, vaguely. Basically, what you see here is the viewports. Okay? Those who were here for last session, or the first session, saw that you can actually see things in the center of the screen. It's the same thing here. This is for actually viewing your work. Okay? There's a grid so you can visually understand what you're looking at. On the side panel are selection tools. Up here are creation tools, including you can start sculpting. Yeah, Maya does have a sculpting tool set, but it's not as powerful as alternative programs like Mudbox and ZBrush. You can also rig here. There's animation tools, rendering, all different kinds of stuff. But for now, we're going to deal with polygons. This is the properties menu, and this is the timeline. The timeline is strictly for animation. Let me just add a basic object. So I clicked up here to add a cylinder, okay? Now on the side you can see all the properties of the cylinder, okay? Here where it's translated, where its position is, its rotation, its scale, if it's visible or not, its name, and then some input such as its radius, its height, things like that, okay? So right away you can start making this exactly how you want. So let's say instead of a cylinder you want it to be a pill or whatever. You can literally just add some caps. By the way, you can scroll to zoom in. Oops. Anyway, so if you round, if you set on to round cap, automatically you have a cylinder. Okay? So the reason I'm showing you this is just to prove to you that Maya is designed for efficiency. You probably wouldn't, automatically think to create a pill, first I want to create a cylinder. For Maya, it's there automatically. Now I'm going to show you 3ds Max. Like I said, it doesn't work on Macs, ironically, even though it's in the name. So I'm gonna have to show you pictures. Oh, wait this one. I guess I'll have to do. Okay, it's kind of hard to see here, but
Zoom in, zoom in.
Yanni, it's not going to help the blip. Anyway, so when you enter 3ds Max, you should see 4 viewports. The top, left, front, and the perspective view. Okay? Like I said, 3ds Max is kind of geared towards engineers, but it's also great for artists. It's more for people who develop games and movies because you have exact control of all of the vertices that you want, and it's easier to control where your resources go. Okay. So on the side here, there's going to be 2 menus. Okay. 2 main tabs. Okay. There's going to be the object creation tab, where you can add squares and stuff like that to your heart's content. And in the second tab, there's the modifiers. Now, when you create an object from here, let's say you use select cube, for example, okay, or teapot. Teapot is actually a default object. If you press teapot and you literally just drag here, you should see a teapot show up. You can mess with the settings just like in Maya, but not to the same extent. Now, if you switch over to the modifiers panel, you should see a list, okay? So it should start with whatever you start with, let's say the cube, okay? And then you can add things like edit poly mode, okay? Edit poly mode is basically, it allows you to mess with the vertices and the mesh in a straightforward way. Did it finish copying? No, it's not. Okay, I guess we're not going to have it today. I'll have to teach you more. So, like I said, all of these that you can have various different things like hair and fur. You can add even spherify, different things to actually modify your content. Okay. So it's based on a system where you can easily undo the things that you've done. Whereas Maya is basically, you just create. Okay, it's like when you're an artist, let's say you want to make something more spherical. Okay, so you have to draw everything from the beginning. Whereas if you're using, I don't know, digital software like Photoshop, you can manipulate. You guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of modifiers that you can use, and they're additive. Okay. So the one, this is actually supposed to be in reverse, but the one on the top is the final modification. Anyway, so let's forget about that, okay? Anyone who has 3ds Max or Maya, please launch it now. Okay. I want you guys to figure out, just to point out something in this room, something that you want to create. Just point out anything in this room that you want to create.
Maybe this bottle?
Okay, this bottle. May I, whoever, is this your bottle? May I pick it up? It's always your bottle. Anyway, so, okay. So the first step to actually doing this is to actually modeling is to recognize what you're looking at. I'm gonna turn on the lights. Anyway, so when you look at this, the first thing that you notice is that it's cylindrical. Yes. So what does that tell you? first thing you want to do is start off with a cylinder. Okay. Now, what's one of the other things that you notice? There's this groove in the middle. Okay. So it's not just a straight cylinder. Yeah. You're going to have to add lines on it. Basically, so you can edit. You're going to edit the silhouette of it. So you want to have it a shape like this. Okay? But like I said, you're dealing with points. So if you have 2 points, it's a straight line. Okay? Now, if you want something to be more round, you can never have a completely round surface in graphics. Okay? Just like if you're trying to create a cylinder out of, a sphere out of points, you can't. You need an infinite amount of points. So what do? You create a large amount of points. Okay? So basically, you're going to add points here and here and here, and add as many as you need to make it look natural. Okay? So all of these would be lines going across. Okay? And you would need the same thing for lines going down. Okay? Because as you can see here, it doesn't look like an octagon or something. It looks very circular. So you're going to need a lot of vertical lines, okay? Vertical edges, they're called. Now the problem is trying to figure out how many you can use. Now, if you're going to put this in a video game, do you think that you're going to use 1 million polygons to try and put this in a video game? No. That's going to be a huge waste. Usually people don't even put 30 polygons into something like that. Okay? So you have to figure out how many do you need for it to look nice, but also not murder the game. Okay? And then finally we can deal with the cap. Okay? So the cap will have, let me draw this again. So the cap, we're basically going to try and extend this cylinder, okay? So there won't really be a diagonal line, just when we edit it, when we add the texture, there will be, okay? One of the other things that you notice is that there's the clasp, okay? So we're going to have to create this kind of H shape. It's not an H shape. So you have to try and figure out the shapes that you're trying to create, okay? So if you're trying to murder your computer and create the most accurate model you want, let's try and actually create this. There's also this bump here and this here. And let's just simplify this over here to be a cylinder. And forget about this because of time. So what you might be wondering is, holy cow, that's a lot for a bottle. Yeah, this happens for every single thing that you want to create in a game. I'm not kidding. Let's get to business. Let's start. Okay. So the first thing that whoever has it installed. Okay. Again, who has it installed? Okay. Who doesn't have 3ds Max or might install? Trying to go with someone else. Yeah. So, like I said, try and sit with someone who has it. Anyway, so the very first thing that you want to do is create a cylinder, okay? Because like I said, the cylinder is one of the most important, or is the very basic shape, okay? You do this when you're drawing as well, okay? You try to figure out the basic shapes and then you go into details from there. So when you look at this, you might want to, or you do want to, accurately represent the aspect ratio of this. Okay, so this is much higher compared to the width than this. I mean, this is much fatter, I guess, than this. Okay, so let's try and increase the height. Yeah, over here, increase the height to 3. So I increased the height to 5, so it's more accurate. Should be 4.5. tiny. It's not like it's that important of a model. So now that we've created the cylinder, let's try and subdivide it. Okay? In 3ds Max and in Maya, it should be on the side that you see. It's not actually. Okay, let me just create this from the beginning. Nope. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, you see all of these lines. That's a huge waste of resources. So let's try and bring it down to 8, considering it's a bottle. You know, too sharp. Good. Oh my God. Okay, so let's try. Okay, 20 is fine. Okay, that's fine. Now, we want to subdivide the height. Okay? So we want to create the edges that you see over here, or that you don't see over here, but you want to see over here. So let's create 8 for starters. Okay? Now, in 3ds Max, we want to go into the second panel on the side, the modifier panel. Okay, and you want to go into the pull down menu and find Edit Polygon. Okay. So 3ds Max users add Edit Polygon. Can everyone do that? Okay, who's using 3ds Max? Oh, one user. Guys really use 3ds Max. It's much better. In my opinion. Okay, you got it. So for the rest of you, Maya users. Okay.
How did you open, from where did you open this menu again?
Forget about it. I didn't even need to open this menu.
Okay.
So anyway, now we want to actually edit the elements. Okay? So, okay, so like I said, what the hell? Okay, like I said, Maya is designed for people who want to be very efficient in modeling. Okay, very quick. So what we're going to try to do, or the way they try to do it, is that a lot of what you're trying to get is visible by right-clicking. So when you right-click and hold right-click, you should be able to find edge. Okay, you can literally just move your mouse around and go over edge. So now you can select the individual edges. Okay. For our 3ds Max user, okay, do some edge. Second one. No. You want us to support? We're good. Trying to find the side view. Okay. So, if you go to panels up here, and then you go to orthographic, and then side, okay, you can actually see the side, okay? Now, the reason why we're doing this is so that we can actually edit it on one axis, okay? We don't have to worry about accidentally making one side higher or whatever. Let me put this up here if you don't mind. So that everyone should be able to see the bottom. So let's first select these two edges, okay, and these two second. Okay? Where's the, I really don't get this. Yeah, the scale. Okay, so basically you can scale it up if you select the bottom two or these two rows. You can scale it to suit your purposes. So let's say we want it to be a little bit loaded here. Because as you can see here, there's a bit of a curve. Okay, so we're trying to emulate that.
Do you kind of tell us how to select and then how to scale?
Okay. Basically, is everyone in the side view? You're automatically in the side view. You have 4 views. If you're not, just go to panels or the graphics side. Then you can see here, these are the tools that you can use. So we're going to go into select whatever you want to use, okay? And then here are the 3 types of movement. There's the translate, rotate, and scale. Translate is for moving, rotate is for obviously rotation, and scaling is for obviously scaling. It doesn't exactly mean it's finished.
You can go for the 4 views in
Okay.
space.
Select.
أنا ما ممكن space تروح على 4 views يعني.
So I selected these, and now it's
بص ممكن في 4 هنا. كيف سلكت اللي هم تروح السبيس.
What? Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So everyone should have this shape by now. Okay. Now we don't want to only have it like we don't want this side to be flat. So let's deselect this side. Actually, let's go to select vertices. Select these, and then scale them up a bit, just so it has a more round shape. Okay. Now let's move this up. If you have a question, please say so.
How did you
Please.
select the vertices? How did you select the vertices?
You hold right click and get vertex.
Okay.
You can also get edge, and face. So basically shift it so it looks more like the bottom. Okay? Now, so now if we're trying to get this shape, okay, we're going to have one edge obviously here. So let's pull these out a bit by selecting them and then scaling them slightly. And scaling this command a little bit more so that you have kind of the shape of the bottle. Does everyone have something like this? Yes? Somewhere else?
How did you pull the edge out?
Are you vertex now? It's easier if you go into panels and no, don't do it like that. I was just explaining that you see these lines, okay? Actually, if you go into perspective, you get a much better view of this. Okay? So you can see 3 lines, 1 thing in the middle, and 3 planes, okay? Now, if you deal with this plane, obviously, or not obviously, it scales in these 2 directions, okay? It doesn't scale this way. If you do it here, it scales in these 2 directions. If you do it on the line, it scales in that direction. If you do it in the middle, it scales in all directions, okay? So you have to keep that in mind, because otherwise you're going to end up, after you model it perfectly, it looks perfectly on one side, you go into perspective, it turns out flat from the other side. So you have to be careful when you're doing that. By the way, if this is boring or something, please tell me, so I can try and adjust it. Because this is honestly probably the hardest lesson to teach. Because, I don't know, I think most of you guys are supposed to be or scientists.
But then to smooth it out, you just need to add polygons.
Oops. Yes, you can add polygons. But you have to consider, is it worth it? Because this is the model that you're probably going to see for 5 seconds. So anyway, the quality is even worse than before. Anyway, so let's go back into side view. Okay, so let's go into vertex. Actually, no, sorry. Go into face, okay? Go back into perspective. So everyone has this view and is going into face, right? No?
Can you can get before by taking space one.
But it's much smaller now. Like, if it was a decent resolution, if it weren't for this bad projector, yeah. Yes. You guys mind if I turn off the lights? Fine, I'll try and deal with it. So let me zoom in here. Okay. So try and go into faces and select the top space, the top. How do I say? Yeah, basically the top face. Okay. And then you want to extrude. Okay. Extrude. I'm going to explain this in a second. Okay, let me roll back for a second. Okay, basically, extrude is one of the best tools that you're gonna find. Basically, you take something and you raise it. Okay, that's basically all extrude is. There are other tools like bridge, so that if you have these 2 planes, okay, and you want to connect them, you use bridge and it becomes a box. Things like that. There's also bevel, which is like extrude, but it also deals with the size of what you end up. How do you deselect? Did I say it doesn't crash? No, I don't want to deselect all. I'm trying to deselect some. I want to go to the face. But I can't deselect. I want to deselect this. So I just have to stop. No, with Kiddo, I still have the bond. The problem is that it's in closed surface, so you're always going to get the other side. Still don't get by this one. Okay, you know what? No, you guys are still gonna need. I missed 3ds Max.
I think you just
Yeah.
selected it.
No, I'm trying to select only the top, but if you look on the other side, I'm going to be selecting the back as well.
I just deselected.
How did you deselect? I'm sorry guys, I know this isn't very professional. Thank you. Okay. Our Savior has come and told us that shift is the answer. So you select whatever you want, you press. That doesn't work. You have to select each one individually. And Maya is supposed to be more efficient.
Why don't you borrow someone's laptop?
Huh?
Borrow someone's laptop.
He's the only one with 3ds Max, and no one else has 3ds Max, so it's going to be useless. I'm going to be teaching one guy. There has to be a better way. Come on. Whatever, it's going to give it an interesting look. You select whatever you want, and you press the extrude button up here. You can add to the thickness, so it's, let's say, 3. Okay, so once you make it 3, you can scale it down to the size that you. Why is this selected? Oh my god, I really don't understand.
I have a question.
Yes.
So also Mangua that you selected like a face, the same any where the face like
Okay, right click,
Okay.
go to face,
Oh.
and try and select the top.
Go between control shift.
I tried control shift. It didn't work.
This was manual shift.
Manual assessment. I'll try it anyway. No?
Just shift.
No?
Have we selected the top?
Yeah?
Don't you wanna like?
I'm trying to select the top. Okay, let me tell you what I'm trying to do desperately. I'm trying to select all of this, including the top, and then deselect this. In 3ds Max, you literally just select all of it, Alt, go over this, and it's gone. Yeah. Yes.
We don't have
Select. Sorry.
The shift and select works for you. It does work. I found the solution. After several minutes of trying to find out how to select only a certain face, I discovered that if you drag a box over this, press shift, and then drag only over this, you can select the top surface. Trust me, this workshop gets better. Anyway, now you can actually extrude the way you want. And let's make it. Yes.
By the way, what?
It's easy to select them without.
It's actually that's it. Okay, try extrude. You can barely see it, but I think it's try extrude. This is the extrude button, by the way. One of your favorite buttons. Yes. Yes. You select. Alt. Unlock. There you go.
That's legend.
Extrude is alt. You go down, extrude, okay? And then you set it up. Okay. So, 21. Okay, so extrude, where the button is up here for the third time, and then you will be able to manipulate the stop. Okay, so let's press shift again and try and deselect this. What? Select this, shift, and go over this. Okay, this really doesn't. Okay, I am selected. Sort of. Anyway, scale and scale it down so that you're accurately mimicking the fact that this is getting smaller towards the top. Okay? Now, let's say you don't want to do the bumpy top. That's a huge story, it's a big deal. Let's say you just want to do the cabinet and deal with it. Okay? So let's create a box. Okay? So press on box. And then go to move, pull it up. Okay? Try and scale it just right. So I'm going to scale it to 0.05. Okay? And then 0.2. 0.2. And then I'm just going to put it on top of this. Okay? And there we go. Consider this the top. Okay? Any questions about how I did this? Box. Dragged it in with the move tool. Okay. So now we have our bottle. So if you guys are thirsty, you can go ahead and drink that. If not, we can move on. Yeah, I'm just going to try and do everything. Why? I'm going to create a new document. Okay. And by the way, please, for the love of God, actually Google how to model after you do this. Okay, I'm just trying to teach you the basics. Okay, like I said, I'm trying to teach you how the workflow works. So if you're in Blender or 3ds Max or even AutoCAD, you understand what concepts go into this. Okay? I'm not trying to teach you how to use Maya. If I did, I would give up. So let's try and rig something. Okay? I've never rigged in Maya, so I'm as new to this as you are. Okay? So I'm going to create a cylinder, add to the height of it, and then change the subdivisions. Okay? What time is it?
12.
Okay. Now, let's say I want to rig this. not unwrapping, because unwrapping is very platform specific, and like I said, it's a nightmare. But it is simple. It's simple, but it's very repetitive. Basically, what you're going to do is, I'm going to briefly explain how to unwrap. Mind the light. Okay, basically, let's say you have a cube, right? Okay, and you want to unwrap this. So your target should be having, as you probably know from some math class or something like that, this shape, right? So in some programs you would have to select each face individually, okay? Put it over here and then scale it, so when you have a texture on top, let's say a checker texture, okay? You want to make it so that it's not stretched. Do you guys get that?
Wait, say that again.
Okay. Like I said, putting dealing with the unwrapping means that you have to scale it in the exact way, okay? So if you have, let's say, a checker texture here, just checkers, the checker texture here should be exact squares, okay? Theoretically, okay? So that's not stretched, okay? You don't want you don't want the image to be like 4 times wide on one side than it is on the other. Like 4 times as wide as it is high. So basically you're going to try and make the image as accurate as possible, as unstretched as possible, so that every point in the image has the exact attention to detail that it needs. Okay? So let's say you're dealing with a gas mask, for example. Okay? And then you add the eyes and whatever. For some reason your gas mask looks like this, and you're dealing with the clips and stuff. Okay? The clips to hold your gas mask in. You don't need a lot of detail for that. Okay? So you could just like literally create 2 straps like this, and then like 1 sheet of metal. Okay? Even if it's like 4 times as big as this, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be so small that no one notices. Okay? Did you guys get that, or is it too complicated? You look confused.
Me?
Yeah. Yes. So now I'm going to try and grade. Okay. By the way, do you guys want to actually get into texturing after this, just to speed things up? Texturing is really easy and it's pretty fun. In that case, I'd suggest downloading GIMP now. Do you mind if I download GIMP? Yeah. Do you guys who has Photoshop? 3 people. Everyone else, please download GIMP. GIMP, G-I-M-P. You go to GIMP. GIMP.org. It's basically a free image editor. Okay.
Can would Illustrator work?
Good question. No. Illustrator works for the basic planning and stuff like that, but eventually you're going to need to put it in Photoshop or GIMP to actually get a texture out of it. You need a PNG. I think you can export from PNG. But you can't create realistic images in Illustrator. It's mainly for design. So anyway, I'm going to download this. Why is the mouse different?
Why? Because in the scrolling it is.
Okay, so download this, and when it's done, we're going to get into game. You can also do the exact same thing with Photoshop. But anyway, I'm going to try and rig this. So you should be able to create here. As I said before, the skeleton is based off a series of points. Okay, so if you create that, sorry. If you want this to be able to bend and stuff, okay, then you should be able to create bonds for it. Actually, let's go more into detail. Let's delete what we just created. Go into the orthographic view. Okay, press 4 to do the wire mesh. Wire mesh basically shows you all the edges. Anyway, so I'm going to press joints under rigging and basically create a series of joints. Okay? Let me just test this. No? Hey, do you know how to put the skeleton on the thing? Okay. On 3ds Max. Can you work 3ds Max? Okay, download it already. Yeah. Okay, so after this, you have to bind it to the skeleton, and then when you move it, it should work. So that the actual entire thing follows the skeleton. Anyway, I can see that you guys are probably bored of this, so let's go back into this, which isn't ready. By the way, everyone who doesn't have a laptop, just go on any computer, or you can download a standalone file so that you don't have to install it. It's only a few megabytes, and with this fast internet speed, it will probably be done faster than this. Anyway, I was supposed to do this next time. Sorry, I keep turning it on and off and on and off. So anyway. Thank you for your bottle. Let's try and create a surface. Try and pick any surface in this room. Let's say these tiles, okay? Now, we have to try and figure out how to create the image that will be wrapped onto this plane, okay? So what is probably the best image that we can create? Because it's flat, it's obvious. We want to create some type of grid, okay? And once we create the grid, we can randomize the colors a bit so that this is black and this is black if we want it to look like a kitchen floor or something. Anyway, so we once we color that in, we might also want to do the lines in between them. So we're going to try and take out the edge of this so that you can see the pavement underneath. And then we're just going to try and add speckles, okay? Because if you look closely, there's a lot of red dots everywhere. And that's basically how you figure out what you want to do. Fortunately, we still have 15 minutes left. Did anyone download it faster?
4 seconds.
Okay. you have 3ds Max wasn't able to install that. Did you already have it from before? Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that you guys would know about that. Hey, can you figure out how to, oh, you were figuring out how to do this? Yeah, how do you actually bind it to the
Something about the time.
Just need it. Where?
Oh, it's in the window menu. For the second section.
It's still not binding.
Yeah. It's down there, but I don't know what you do there.
Now I'm trying to actually figure out how to bind it to it. Oh, it's not allowed to go down? Go down. This is so complicated. In 3ds Max, you just press king and then you add all the board. Go down. This is still just a line. When you figure out something. Okay, by the time this is done, we're only going to have 15 minutes left anyways. So I suggest, who has it almost done now?
I finished.
You have it almost done? Okay. Okay. So who has it already downloaded on the computer? You just said that you just have it.
لا هي
What?
ولا
طب خلاص, I'll just do it next time. I wanted to do it this time, but we only have half an hour left. This is adding time. I feel like a time limit or something. I guess we're gonna do this next time.
Yeah.
Next time, please try come with GIMP or Photoshop. And hopefully next time will be far less embarrassing and cringeworthy.
I'm guessing you're gonna use 3ds Max, right?
Okay, we'll see. I don't want to go back into Maya ever again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a model, okay? Actually, okay, one thing that I want to show you. You have Unreal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, basically what I want to show you is how to put your fancy jar in the game. Or if you deleted your fancy jar, just put it again. Okay?
You need the charger.
Okay. Anyway, so guys, there's one more thing I want to do. I just want to be able to show you how to put your stuff in the game. Okay? I know that you guys really want to do that, and maybe between now and then you guys can become far better at Maya than I am. Which won't be hard. Why do you have to connect to the App Store? I thought that I have to do something with Epic, like maybe they had it. Anyway, so go to, spend half the session walking. Anyway, go up to File, okay, Export All, okay, select FBX Export, okay, name it whatever you want, Hand the Cheese for example. Let's hope it doesn't destroy the computer. Export, and if you look at the desktop, yes, Hand the Cheese, you have it. Okay, so let's launch Unreal. Okay, I guess it's just open. While this is happening, by the way, who here has attended one session before? Okay.
Only one.
One or more? Okay. Most of you. Anyway, like I said before, all of the videos are going to be up online. Hopefully this one will be like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. And like I said, from now on, these sessions are going to be much better. This is just one of the biggest plot holes, especially because Dawn was sick today. Okay, so I'm just going to load up an old project. Danny, loading. Oh, it's almost done. Okay. This is really, really low quality. Anyway, so you guys probably all export it to Panda Cheese or whatever you decided to call it. Now just press import. Okay. Well. No. Okay, you know what? No, this isn't how to do. There's an easier way.
Well, they're sent to unneeded
No, what?
in my
There is?
yeah.
But let's say you did export, okay? You just, what? You grab pandacheese.fbx. I refuse to change that name. You go into the Unreal Engine. Where did it go now? I feel like my mom would have
No,
given
just
me-
maximize the tweet.
Where is it? See, when it comes to Max, I feel like my mom. I really don't know anything. So I'm going to drag this into third person map, put it in the content browser. No, just do this. Okay, so when you import, you just press import all. You ignore the warnings as usual. Who cares about warnings? And then you drag it in. If you look very closely, you see the small cylinder known to man. And if you decide to, you don't like it being so small, you can drag it in.
بتاعي
And
اللي بتاعك انت اللي كنت كوبي
oh, come on. You won't let me have any fun. I was gonna say make it the biggest cylinder known to man. Whatever. Anyway, so next time, guys, try and download GIMP and or Photoshop again, and we'll try and create some textures that we can put in the game. And that's all. Any questions? Any tomatoes that you guys want to throw at me? Some last 10 minutes.